If you've been scrolling through endless listings of bridge jacks, trying to picture how each one would actually fit into your garage, and still feel that nagging doubt, will this really lift my car safely and not cost me an arm and a leg? This review is going to help you cut through the noise. I've spent the last couple of weeks digging into what mechanics, hobbyists, and even a few small shop owners have to say about the Triumph SJ35 bridge jack, and I've tried to piece together the practical bits that most product pages gloss over. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's start with the core question: why does a bridge jack matter at all? For anyone who does more than occasional oil changes, the ability to raise both front and rear wheels simultaneously can save you time, eliminate the hassle of moving the car around, and give you a more stable platform for work. The SJ35's 3,500 pound capacity puts it squarely in the range needed for most compact to mid-size vehicles. Think a Honda Civic, a Subaru Impreza, or a 2015 Toyota Camry. If you drive a heavy-duty truck or a lifted SUV, you'll be flirting with the upper limits, and that's where the nuance comes in. The first thing I noticed about the Triumph model is its manual hydraulic pump. It's a hand lever system, not an electric motor, which means you're not relying on a battery or plugged-in power source. In a real-world shop, that translates to fewer points of failure and lower upfront cost. However, the trade-off is that you have to actually pump the lever to raise the jack. For a weekend tinkerer who enjoys the tactile feel, that's a plus. For a professional shop where every second counts, you might find it a bit slower compared to a motor-driven unit. The key is to set realistic expectations. You'll likely spend a few extra seconds cranking the lever, but you won't have to worry about a dead battery or a broken motor mid-lift. Height is where the SJ35 shows its flexibility. With a lowered pad height of 4.75 inches, it can sit under low-profile cars that many bulkier jacks can't reach. That's a real advantage if you own a sporty coupe with a shallow undercarriage. When you crank the pump up, the pad reaches a maximum of 16.5 inches, and that's with the optional adapters. In practice, that means you can comfortably lift a sedan about 4 to 5 inches off the ground, enough to swap tires, change brake pads, or loosen a stuck-wheel bolt without straining. Keep in mind, though, that 16.5 inches is still short of the clearance you'd get from a full-size 4-post lift. If you plan to do deep undercar work, like installing a new suspension or doing extensive chassis work, you'll still need a higher platform. One practical strength that shows up often in workshop forums is the 3 locking height positions. When you reach a certain lift height, you can lock the jack in place before you even finish cranking. That reduces the risk of the jack slipping once you start working under the car, which can be a real safety concern if you're not used to hydraulic devices. In my observations, users appreciate being able to set a sweet spot, say, 4 inches of lift for tire rotation, and then step away, knowing the jack won't descend unexpectedly. The downside is that you have to remember the sequence: lift, lock, then finish the raise. Forgetting to lock can be a common mistake for newcomers, so a little mental checklist goes a long way. Now, who should actually consider buying the Triumph SJ35? If you're a hobbyist who works on a single car in a home garage, this jack gives you the essential capability without breaking the bank. It's also a solid entry point for a small shop that doesn't need a full-size lift but still wants to handle basic maintenance on a handful of vehicles. The price point is modest, and because it's manually operated, ongoing maintenance costs are low. Just keep the hydraulic fluid topped up and check for any leaks after heavy use. On the flip side, if you run a busy automotive service center, or if you regularly lift heavier trucks, you might find the SJ35's capacity and height limits restrictive. The manual pump can become a bottleneck during busy days, and the maximum lift height may not clear the larger undercar components you need to access. Moreover, the absence of a built-in safety valve, something you often see on more premium models, means you'll have to be extra vigilant about ensuring the hydraulic system is properly pressurized before you start working. Let's talk durability. The SJ35 is built with a steel frame and a cast-iron hydraulic cylinder, which is fairly standard for this price segment. In real-world terms, That translates to a jack that can survive the occasional bump against a curb or the rough handling that happens when you're moving it around the shop. However, because it's not a sealed, oil-free design, you'll want to keep an eye on